Now, it sounds like you do a lot of work. And with your husband now, especially on the different time zone now, you're like 12 hours ahead.
Right.
Um, 13 hours ahead, 12 hours ahead, something like that right now. That's crazy. But juggling travel, work, family, it's obviously not that easy for everybody. How do you find that balance for you guys and still ensure that you're doing the best experiences possible for your family, for the hubs, for everything?
Well, I'll give you kind of a rundown of our day. So we currently I'm traveling with two teenagers. I haven't said their ages. They are 14 and 16. And if you've had teenagers, you know that they like to stay up late at night and sleep in the morning. So usually starting in the morning, my husband and I are the first people up and we'll knock off a couple hours of work together. Well, not together. He and I will both be working separately, but at the same time. And the kids will sleep in. And after we get our work wrapped up, they're usually rolling out of bed sometime between 10 and noon. We can have a little meal at home and then we'll go out explore together in the afternoon and then come back and we typically cook dinner at home. And sometimes I'm also working again in the evening, same with my husband, and the kids will do their goofing off or whatever and play video games online. And I'll go to bed before they do. They'll put themselves to sleep, which is so different when they were little. Like, I couldn't imagine how much easier this is. Like, all right, guys, if you stay up too late, that's your own darn fault. And if you're grouchy tomorrow, I'm not helping. You took that on yourself. So typically that's what we do, that we have work time in the morning. My husband tends to work more hours than I do. So when we're in an area, we'll double check like what things are super important for him. And then we'll all plan that as a day. And then there's other days that I can go off with the kids and we can hang out at some of the, lesser known museums or places that didn't interest my husband as much. So we try to do a lot of things together. But then the nice thing also about having teenagers, especially more than one, is that we can send them off in the evening. So now as I'm putting my feet up at night, the kids are out there walking around Tokyo, buying little musubi and sushi and mochi treats as they check out the city lights and listen to the sounds and smell all the smells. And yeah, so they can go off on their own. And they tend to like that too. And I think definitely as they've aged, we've built in more opportunities for them to be in safe areas where they can go off. And as long as they're in pairs, it's usually no trouble.
That was going to be my next question because I'm sure there are people out there wondering how do the kids go off and not get kidnapped? And at what age did you start really trusting them with that kind of responsibility? I'm sure it was in groups and stuff like that because you've got the older kids too. But
We rewind a little bit. When we moved to Kauai, my oldest was 10 at the time and is an avid fisherman. And we lived about a quarter mile from the ocean. So after school, he would take his fishing gear and his bike and he would go down and ocean fish on his own. And we're living on an island. Like, where are you going to go? There's always people willing to help. He was fishing right outside the library. So even though he didn't have a cell phone, we knew that there were people, if he needed assistance, who would absolutely help in a heartbeat. And we've really built in a lot of independence for them early on. When they were younger, if we went to, say, a shopping area that has a central location, if they wanted to go off on their own, like, hey, we want to go and buy a little ice cream or whatever, I'd say like, okay, I'll sit here. Here's the money. You can go do that. And then you come back here and we'll meet up with each other then. So kind of practicing a little bit of autonomy. And as they've aged, then we've been in other areas. So we spent quite a bit of time in Spain. This was in 2020. So part of that time we were locked down. But when we were not locked down, the culture there is so different. So my oldest, he was about 15. He was able to go out at night and come home at 2 or 3 in the morning because there was still like families were sitting down for dinner, like at midnight. I'm like, you know what? There's families out here. There's other people around. Again, I mean, it's a judgment call. And he just loved being able to have that sort of autonomy that he could make those choices on his own. And shortly after that, we went to Tampa and I was like, all right, guys, you got to be home by 8. They're like, what? It was just 2 a.m. curfew. I'm like, no, 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 no. We're somewhere else now. It is dark at 7. And so again, they've seen how we've looked at what is our situation here, what are the risks, what are the benefits of being in certain areas. And they've come to learn that different parts of the world have different safety issues. So yeah, when we're in an area that we feel safe, and honestly, when we were in Mexico City, my kids were out at night. They were riding the metro. Like I didn't feel like it was dangerous there at all. So you've got to make judgment calls and of course not be stupid. You got to be street smart, but there's definitely, you get good at it after a while, like trusting your gut instinct. Like this feels okay. This is all right. And letting the kids have a little more room when they need to. And especially when my oldest, I mean, both my boys now are over 6 feet tall. So that makes a difference too. And if we were talking about just my daughter going out on her own, I probably would have a little different sentiment depending where we are on the planet. So some places it would be totally fine. Others I would just say like, bring your brother with you, bring a friend with you. So that's life too. So you've got to
Life.
be able to work that out and figure out those things as you go.
Okay. That's life. These are the decisions that parents have to make, whether we are traveling or not. So it's
That's true.